Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, looking for new planets and signs of life. It was routine work, but Jake never got tired of seeing new parts of the galaxy. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Danny Rodriguez from his station. Danny was the ship's communications officer, and he had been monitoring radio signals from nearby star systems all morning. His dark eyes were focused on the screen in front of him, and his fingers moved quickly across the controls. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked, walking over to look at Danny's readings. "Energy signatures, sir. Big ones. And they're coming from 2 different directions." Danny pointed to the display. "Look at this. The readings are off the charts." Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, and she had been hoping to find signs of intelligent species during their mission. "Captain, these energy levels are incredible. I've never seen anything like them. Could be natural phenomena," said Ben Clark, the science officer. Ben was always careful to consider all possibilities before jumping to conclusions. Maybe some kind of stellar activity or cosmic event. Amy Peterson, the chief engineer, shook her head. "No way these are natural. The patterns are too regular, too organized. This looks like technology, advanced technology." Jake studied the readings more carefully. The energy signatures were indeed massive, far beyond anything humans had created. But there was something else about them that made him uneasy. The patterns seemed aggressive, like weapons charging up for battle. "Danny, can you pick up any communications from those areas?" Jake asked. Danny adjusted his equipment and listened through his headphones. After a few minutes, his face went pale. "Captain, you need to hear this." He put the signals through the bridge speakers. The sounds that came through were unlike anything the crew had heard before. There were 2 distinct types of voices, both speaking in languages that sounded harsh and threatening. Even without understanding the words, it was clear that these were not friendly conversations. "Those sound like military communications," said Steve Harris, the tactical officer. Steve had served in the Human Space Navy before joining the Exploration Service, and he knew the sound of war preparations when he heard it. "Can you translate any of it?" Jake asked Dr. Grant. "I'll try, but it will take time. The computer needs to analyze the language patterns first." Lisa's fingers flew across her console as she began the translation process. The Valiant continued toward the source of the signals. As they got closer, the energy readings became even stronger. Amy had to adjust the ship's shields to protect them from the radiation. "Captain, I'm detecting massive fleet movements," Ben reported. "Ships, lots of them, moving in formation." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Fleet movements meant war, and war meant trouble for anyone caught in the middle. "How many ships are we talking about?" "At least 100 from each group, maybe more. They're big too, much bigger than anything in our fleet." The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The human exploration fleet had only a few dozen ships, and most of them were not built for combat. The Valiant itself was armed, but it was designed for exploration, not warfare. "Sir, I'm getting partial translations," Lisa announced. "The first group calls themselves the Cathara. They appear to be some kind of reptilian species. The second group is the Vorthic, and they seem to be insect-like." "What are they saying?" Jake asked. "It's mostly military communications. Battle. Plans, weapon status, troop movements. But there's something else. They're both talking about conquest, about taking territory and resources from each other." Danny suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, we have a problem. I'm picking up references to our colonies." "What kind of references?" Jake's voice was sharp. "They've detected our settlements. Both groups are talking about them as potential targets." They seemed to think human colonies would be easy to take. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. There were several human settlements in nearby systems, mostly mining operations and research stations. They had minimal defenses and would be helpless against the kind of firepower these aliens seemed to possess. "Sir, we're close enough now to get visual," Steve reported. "Put it on screen." The main display changed to show a view of space filled with ships unlike anything humans had ever seen. The Cathara vessels were dark and angular, like giant predators, made of metal and energy. The Vorthic ships were different, but equally threatening, with an organic look that suggested they had been grown, rather than built. As the crew watched, the two fleets began to engage each other. Beams of energy crossed the darkness between them, and explosions lit up the space around the battling ships. The weapons were incredibly powerful, each shot capable of destroying a human ship with ease. "My God," Amy whispered. "Look at the size of those explosions." The battle was unlike anything humans had ever witnessed. Both alien fleets fought with a savagery that spoke of deep hatred and a desire to completely destroy their enemies. Ships rammed into each other when their weapons failed, and the crews seemed to prefer death to surrender. "These aren't just military forces," Lisa observed, studying the data streaming in from their sensors. "These are entire civilizations at war. Both species appear to be completely militarized. And they've noticed our colonies," Danny added grimly. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Instead of turning around and fleeing to warn the human settlements, he ordered the Valiant to move closer to the battle zone. "Captain, what are you doing?" Amy asked. "We need to understand what we're dealing with. If these aliens are planning to attack human colonies, we need to know how dangerous they are and what they're capable of. Sir, if they detect us, then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I won't run away while human lives are at stake." The Valiant crept closer to the battle, using asteroids and debris to hide their approach. The alien ships were so focused on destroying each other that they didn't notice the small human vessel watching from the shadows. As they observed the fighting, the crew began to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented. These weren't just two advanced civilizations at war. These were two species that had evolved to be perfect killers, and now they were testing their strength against each other. And somewhere in the distance, human colonies waited, unaware that they had become targets in a war between monsters. The Valiant had been watching the alien battle for 2 hours when everything changed. A stray energy beam from the fighting fleets hit an asteroid near their hiding spot, and the explosion lit up space around them like a giant flare. "We've been spotted," Steve Harris announced from his tactical station. "Both fleets are turning toward us." Captain Jake Morrison watched as the massive alien ships began to change course. Even from this distance, he could see they were enormous, each one at least 5 times the size of the Valiant. And now they were all heading straight for his ship. "Danny, are you receiving any communications?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. Coming in on multiple frequencies. Both fleets are trying to contact us." Danny Rodriguez looked nervous as he adjusted his equipment. "The signals are strong, really strong. They want to talk. Put them through." The main screen split into 2 images. On the left appeared a creature that looked like a giant lizard walking upright. Its skin was dark green and covered in scales, and its eyes glowed red in the dim light of its ship's bridge. On the right was something that looked like a massive insect, with multiple arms and eyes that seemed to look in all directions at once. "Unknown vessel," said the lizard-like creature in a voice that sounded like grinding stone. "I am Admiral Zeke Tar of the Cathara Empire. Identify yourselves immediately." "Small ship," buzzed the insect creature, its voice like a swarm of angry bees. "I am Swarm Commander Hivelix of the Vorthic Collective. You will state your purpose here." Jake stood up straight, and faced both alien commanders. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Valiant. We are explorers from the planet Earth, seeking to learn about other civilizations in the young line. Galaxy. Both aliens stared at him for a moment, then Admiral Zektar began to laugh. It was a harsh, cruel sound that made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. Explorers? Zektar said. You are mammals, soft and weak. What could you possibly explore that we have not already conquered? Swarm Commander Hivelex made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Humans, we have heard of your kind. You spread to many worlds, but have no real strength. You are prey, not predators. Dr. Lisa Grant stepped forward. We come in peace. We have no desire to interfere in your conflict. Perhaps we could help you find a way to end this war without more bloodshed. This made both alien commanders laugh even harder. End the war? Zektar roared. The war ends when the Vorthik are all dead. The Kithara have conquered 17 worlds, each one more dangerous than the last. We are the strongest species in the galaxy. The Kithara are fools, Hivelex buzzed angrily. The Vorthik have devoured the populations of 12 star systems. We are the ultimate hunters. When this war is over, we will consume everything in our path. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. These weren't just aggressive species. They were genocidal killers who saw other life forms as nothing more than resources to be consumed or obstacles to be destroyed. You speak of consuming populations, Lisa said, her voice steady despite her fear. Surely there must be some way to coexist without destroying entire civilizations. Coexist? Zektar's red eyes narrowed. The weak exist to serve the strong. The Kithara are the strongest, so all others must bow to us or die. The Vorthik are strongest, Hivelex corrected. We have perfect hunting instincts. We never fail to catch our prey. Danny Rodriguez had been monitoring their communications. While the conversation continued, he turned to Jake with a worried expression. Captain, I'm picking up tactical communications from both fleets. They're discussing our colonies. Jake's blood ran cold. What about our colonies? They've been scanning our communications. They know the locations of our settlements. Both sides are talking about attacking them. Admiral Zektar seemed to notice Danny's concern. Yes, we have detected your weak settlements. They will make good practice targets for our warriors. The Vorthik will claim those colonies, Hivelex said. The humans there will provide good breeding stock for our young. The bridge of the Valiant fell silent. Everyone understood what the alien commanders were saying. The human colonies, with their minimal defenses and peaceful populations, were going to be attacked by whichever side won this war. Those colonies are protected by Earth, Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. Any attack on them would be an act of war against humanity. Both alien commanders found this hilarious. War against humanity? Zektar said. Your entire species could not defeat a single Kithara battle group. You are soft mammals from a soft world. You know nothing of real warfare. Humans are weak. Hivelex agreed. You think in terms of cooperation and peace. These concepts mean nothing to real predators. Steve Harris had been running quiet scans of the alien ships while they talked. He leaned over to Jake and whispered, Captain, their weapons are powerful, but their tactics are crude. They rely on overwhelming force rather than strategy. Jake nodded slightly. He was beginning to understand something about these aliens. They were indeed powerful, but they were also predictable. They thought like predators, which meant they had predictable weaknesses. Admiral Zektar, Commander Hivelex, Jake said. You both claim to be the strongest species in the galaxy, but you've been fighting each other for what appears to be years, and neither of you has won. The war will end when the Vorthik are extinct. Shitar growled. The war will end when we have consumed every Kithara. Hivelex buzzed back. But while you fight each other, you ignore other potential threats. What if there were species out there stronger than either of you? Both aliens laughed again, but there was less confidence in their laughter this time. Impossible, Zektar sighed. The Kithara evolved on Kithros, a world of endless storms and predators. Only the strongest could survive there. The Vorthik evolved on Vorthik Prime, a world of perpetual volcanic activity and deadly creatures, Hivelex added. We became the ultimate hunters because we had to kill everything around us to survive. Lisa Grant saw an opportunity. Our world, Earth, was also dangerous. But we learned to survive through cooperation rather than domination. Cooperation is weakness, both aliens said almost at the same time. Is it? Jake asked. Commander Hivelex, how many ships have you lost in this war? The insect alien's eyes narrowed. That is not your concern. Admiral Zektar, how many of your people have died fighting the Vorthik? The reptilian commander's scales darkened with anger. The Kithara do not fear death. I'm sure you don't, Jake said. But you're both losing resources and lives in this war. Meanwhile, humans have been spreading across the galaxy through cooperation and trade. We've established colonies on dozens of worlds without conquering anyone. Because you are weak, Zektar said, but he sounded less certain now. Or because we found a better way, Jake replied. Amy Peterson had been monitoring the alien ships. Energy signatures. She looked up with concern. Captain, both fleets are powering up their weapons. I think they're planning to attack us. Jake wasn't surprised. These aliens respected only strength, and they saw humans as weak. But they were about to learn that there were different kinds of strength. Danny, open a channel to both fleets. Channel. Open, sir. Admiral Zektar, Commander Hivelex, if you attack this ship, you will be making a grave mistake. Humanity may not conquer worlds like you do, but we have our own ways of defending ourselves. Threats from mammals, Zektar laughed. Show us this human strength you speak of. Very well, Jake said calmly. But remember, you asked for this demonstration. He turned to his crew. All hands, prepare for combat. It's time to show these aliens what humans are really capable of. The attack came faster than anyone expected. Admiral Zektar's flagship fired first, sending a massive energy beam toward the Valiant. The beam was so powerful, it would have completely destroyed most ships, but Jake had been ready for this. Evasive. Maneuvers, he shouted. The Valiant twisted away from the beam with a grace that surprised both alien commanders. The ship moved like a dancer, spinning and diving through space in ways that seemed impossible for something so large. How did they do that? Zektar demanded on the open channel. No ship moves like that. Before anyone could answer, Swarm Commander. Hivelex sent 3 of his smaller ships to attack the Valiant from different angles. The Vorthik vessels moved quickly, trying to surround the human ship like hunting animals cornering prey. But Steve Harris had been watching their approach patterns. They're predictable, he told Jake. They attack like pack hunters, but they always use the same formation. Then let's show them something they haven't seen before, Jake replied. The Valiant suddenly accelerated straight toward the largest Vorthik ship. The aliens expected the human ship to turn away at the last moment. But instead, it kept coming. At what seemed like the last possible second, the Valiant rolled to the side and fired a precise beam that disabled the alien ship's weapons without destroying it. Impossible. Hivelex buzzed in shock. No one can aim that accurately while moving so fast. But the Valiant wasn't finished. It used the momentum from its roll to spin around and disable the weapons on the other 2 Vorthik ships in quick succession. All 3 alien vessels were left floating helplessly in space. Our ships are undamaged, one of the Vorthik pilots reported. The humans targeted only our weapons. They could have destroyed us, but chose not to. Both alien commanders were silent for a moment, trying to understand what had just happened. "Why did you not destroy our ships?" Zektar asked. "Because we're not murderers," Dr. Lisa Grant replied. "We disabled your weapons to stop the attack, but we have no desire to kill your crews." "This makes no sense," Hivelex said. "In battle, you destroy your enemies. You do not leave them alive to attack again." "Maybe that's why your war has lasted so long," Jake said. "You only know how to destroy, not how to solve problems." Amy Peterson was already launching rescue pods toward the disabled ships. "Captain, I'm reading life support failures on 2 of the Vorthic vessels. Their crews will die if we don't help them." "Launch all available rescue teams," Jake ordered without hesitation. "You're going to save our warriors?" Hivelex sounded confused. "Of course. They're living beings in danger." The rescue operation began immediately. Human teams in environmental suits moved quickly to help the alien crews. Ben Clark had prepared emergency medical supplies, and Dr. Grant was ready to treat any injured aliens. But there was a problem. The Vorthic and Kithara were not just different species. They were completely different types of life. The Vorthic needed different atmospheric conditions than humans, and the Oth. Kithara had biochemistry that was totally alien. "We need to improvise," Lisa said as the first injured aliens were brought aboard. "I've never treated wounds like these before." The Vorthic were insect-like creatures with multiple limbs and organs in unexpected places. Their blood was green and had a different chemical composition than anything on Earth. The Kithara were reptilian, but with internal structures that defied human understanding. "Dr. Grant, what do you need?" Jake asked. "Time, resources, and a lot of luck," she replied, working frantically to save an injured Vorthic warrior. These beings evolved on completely different worlds. Their biology is nothing like ours. But the human medical team didn't give up. They worked together, sharing information and adapting their techniques to help the alien patients. Amy Peterson modified the ship's environmental systems to create suitable conditions for both species. Danny Rodriguez helped translate the aliens' medical terms so the doctors could understand what was wrong. The alien commanders watched in amazement as humans risked their own lives to save their enemies. "I do not understand," Zektar said. "These Vorthic are your enemies. They tried to kill you. Why do you help them?" "They're not our enemies," Jake explained. "They're just people who happen to be on the other side of a conflict. That doesn't mean they deserve to die." "But this is how warfare works," Hivelex protested. "You kill your enemies, or they kill you. There is no other way." "There are always other ways," Lisa said as she successfully treated a Kithara pilot. "You just have to be willing to look for them." The rescue operation continued for 3 hours. By the time it was finished, the human crew had saved the lives of 17 Vorthic and 12 Kithara. The aliens were confused and grateful, unable to understand why their enemies had helped them. "We owe you a debt," said one of the Vorthic warriors. "But we do not understand why you paid it for us." "You don't owe us anything," Jake said. "We helped because it was the right thing to do." Admiral Zektar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "In all my years of warfare, I have never seen anything like this. The Kithara take no prisoners and show no mercy. It is the way of war." "Maybe it's time to consider a different way," Lisa suggested. "Impossible," Hivelex said, but he sounded less certain than before. "The Vorthic are hunters. We take what we need and eliminate threats. This is our nature. Your nature doesn't have to define your choices," Jake replied. "Humans evolved as hunters too, but we learned to be more than just predators." Steve Harris had been monitoring both alien fleets during the rescue operation. "Captain, both sides are repositioning. They're not attacking each other anymore. They're watching us." Jake looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were indeed holding their positions, neither advancing nor retreating. It was as if both fleets were waiting to see what the humans would do next. "They're studying us," Ben Clark observed. "Both species are trying to understand how we fight." "We showed them something they've never seen before," Amy added. "Precision instead of overwhelming force. Defense instead of attack. Mercy instead of destruction." Dr. Grant was treating the last of the injured aliens when one of the Cathara warriors asked her a question that surprised everyone. "Human doctor, why do your people not conquer other worlds? You have the technology and the skills to be great warriors." Lisa paused in her work, because conquest isn't strength. Real strength is building something better than what came before. "But you defeated our ships easily," the warrior said. "You could have destroyed both our fleets if you wanted to." "Yes, we could have," Jake said, joining the conversation. "But then, what would we have accomplished? 2 dead civilizations, and nothing to show for it but destruction." "You speak of building," Zektar said over the communication channel. "What? Do humans build?" "Cooperation," Jake replied. "Trade routes, scientific partnerships, peaceful settlements. We build bridges between different species instead of walls." "And this makes you stronger?" Hivelex asked. "It makes us better," Lisa said. "Strength without wisdom is just destruction. Wisdom without strength is helpless. But strength and wisdom together can solve problems that seemed impossible." The alien commanders were silent again. Around them, their fleets remained motionless, waiting for orders that didn't come. Finally, Zektar spoke. "Human captain, you have shown us tactics we have never seen. Your ship moves like no other, and your warriors fight with precision we did not know was possible. But more than that, you have shown us something else." "What's that?" Jake asked. "You have shown us that there might be strength in mercy. This concept is difficult for us to understand." "The Vorthik are also confused," Hivelex admitted. "We have been hunters for so long that we have forgotten there might be other ways to live." Jake saw an opportunity. "Admiral, Commander, you've both been fighting this war for years. How many of your people have died? How many resources have been lost? What have either of you actually gained?" Both alien leaders were quiet for a long time. Finally, Sektar answered. "We have gained nothing, but we cannot show weakness to our enemies." "What? If showing mercy wasn't weakness?" Lisa asked. "What if it was a different kind of strength?" "Impossible," Hivelex said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" Jake asked. "We just defeated ships from both your fleets, and neither of you considers us weak anymore. We did it through precision, not destruction. Through skill, not overwhelming force." The bridge of the Valiant fell silent as both alien commanders considered this. Around them, the stars continued to shine, and the war continued to wait for a decision that might change everything. The peace didn't last long. Within hours of the rescue operation, both alien fleets began moving toward the Valiant's position. Danny Rodriguez picked up communications between the two sides, and what he heard made his blood run cold. "Captain, you need to hear this," Danny said, his voice tight with worry. "The Cathara and Vorthik are talking to each other." "I thought they were enemies," Jake said. "They are, but they're discussing a temporary alliance. They both see us as a threat now." Jake felt his stomach drop. Put it through. The harsh voices of both alien species filled the bridge. Even without understanding every word, it was clear they were making battle plans. "They're scared of us," Dr. Lisa Grant said after listening for a few minutes. Both sides realized that humans might be more dangerous than they originally thought. "Scared enough to work together?" Steve Harris asked. "It looks that way," Ben Clark confirmed, studying the tactical displays. Both fleets are coordinating their movements. They're surrounding us. Admiral Zektar's face appeared on the main screen again, but this time his expression was different. The cruel amusement was gone, replaced by something that looked like respect mixed with fear. "Human Captain," Zektar said, "you have shown us abilities we did not expect. Your ship fights like no other, and your crew shows skills that we have never encountered." Swarm Commander Hivelex appeared beside him. The Vorthik agree. "You are not the weak mammals we thought you were. You are predators like us, but different." "We're not predators," Jake said firmly. "We're survivors." "The same thing," Hivelex buzzed. "You have proven you can defeat our ships and save our crews. This makes you dangerous. Because we're dangerous, we have decided to eliminate you before you become a greater threat," Zektar added. "Nothing personal, human. It is simply the smart thing to do." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was calm but alert, ready for whatever came next. They all knew the situation was desperate. The Valiant was fast and well armed, but it was still just one ship against two entire fleets. "How many ships are we facing?" Jake asked Steve quietly. "Over 200, sir, both fleets combined. Their weapons are crude but powerful, and they have us completely surrounded. Amy Peterson was already working on the ship's systems. I can give you more speed and maneuverability, but we can't fight that many ships at once." "We're not going to fight them," Jake said, surprising everyone on the bridge. "Sir?" Steve asked. "We're going to do something they won't expect." Jake turned back to the main screen. "Admiral Zektar, Commander Hivelex, I have a proposal." Both alien commanders looked suspicious. "What kind of proposal?" Zektar asked. "You both claim to be the strongest species in the galaxy. You've been fighting each other for years to prove it, but neither of you has won." "The war will end when the Vorthik are extinct," Zektar growled. "The war will end when we devour every Cathara," Hivelex buzzed back. "But what if there was a way to settle this without more bloodshed?" Jake continued. "What if there was a test that could prove once and for which species is truly superior?" Both commanders leaned forward, interested despite themselves. "What kind of test?" Hivelex asked. "A test of leadership, tactics, and skill. Not just the ability to destroy, but the ability to protect and achieve objectives." "You propose single combat?" Zektar asked. "Not exactly. I propose a war game. A simulation where each of you can demonstrate your tactical abilities without actually killing anyone." The alien commanders looked at each other, then back at Jake. "And why would we agree to this?" Zektar asked. "Because if you simply destroy us, you'll learn nothing. But if you accept this challenge, you'll have a chance to prove your superiority, not just to each other, but to the galaxy." "And if we refuse?" Hivelex asked. Jake smiled grimly. "Then you'll spend eternity wondering if you are really as strong as you claim to be." This struck a nerve with both commanders. They were proud species, evolved from apex predators, and the suggestion that they might be afraid of a challenge was more than they could tolerate. "The Cathara fear no test," Zektar declared. "The Vorthik accept any challenge," Hivelex added. "Excellent," Jake said. "Ben, prepare the holographic simulation system. Make it as realistic as possible." "What will this test involve?" Zektar asked. "A complex tactical scenario. Each of you will command a fleet in a simulated battle. But there's a catch. The objective won't be to destroy the enemy. It will be to protect civilian populations while achieving military goals." Both alien commanders looked confused. "Protect civilians?" Hivelex asked. "Why would we do that?" "Because that's what real leaders do," Lisa said. "Anyone can destroy. It takes true skill to protect while you fight." "This is ridiculous," Zektar said. "Civilians are not important in warfare. They are just resources." "That's exactly why this test will be so revealing," Jake replied. It will show us who is truly the superior tactical mind. Steve Harris was setting up the simulation parameters. Captain, I'm designing a scenario where both commanders will have to defend space stations full of civilians while trying to capture strategic objectives. It will test their ability to think beyond simple destruction. The Cathara do not need to prove themselves with games, Zektar said, but he sounded less certain than before. The Vorthik are not afraid of any test, Hivelex replied. We will show the Cathara how real warriors fight. Then you accept? Jake asked. Both commanders nodded, though they still looked suspicious. Very well. The simulation will begin in 1 hour. That will give you time to study the parameters and prepare your strategies. As the alien commanders signed off to prepare for the test, Jake's crew worked frantically to set up the most complex tactical simulation they had ever attempted. This is insane, Amy muttered as she helped calibrate the holographic projectors. We're betting our lives on a computer game. It's not a game, Jake said. It's a lesson. These aliens have never had to think about anything except destroying their enemies. This simulation will force them to consider other options. And if they don't learn? Steve asked. Then we'll have to find another way to survive. Jake replied grimly. Dr. Grant was working on the scenario details. I'm building in multiple civilian populations, resource limitations, and time constraints. Both commanders will have to make difficult choices. The key is to make them understand that true strength isn't just about firepower, Penn added. It's about achieving objectives while minimizing casualties. Will they understand that? Danny asked. They'll have to, Jake said, because if they don't, this war will continue until both species destroy each other. The hour passed quickly. Both alien fleets remained in position around the Valiant, waiting to see the results of the test. The tension was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Finally, Admiral Zektar and Swarm Commander Hivelex appeared on the main screen again. We are ready for your test, humans, Zektar said. The Vorthik will demonstrate our superiority, Hivelex added. Then let's begin, Jake said. The simulation will test your abilities as commanders, not just warriors. Are you ready to learn what real leadership looks like? Both alien commanders straightened up, their pride evident in their postures. We are ready, they said in unison. Then let the test begin, Jake announced. The holographic system activated, creating a three-dimensional battlefield that filled the bridge. Both alien commanders found themselves in command of identical fleets, facing the same tactical challenges. But as the simulation began, it became clear that this would be unlike any battle either of them had ever fought. The rules were different. The objectives were more complex, and success would require more than just the ability to destroy everything in sight. Jake watched as both commanders struggled with concepts they had never considered before. This was the moment that would determine not just the fate of the Valiant, but possibly the future of both alien civilizations. The test had begun, and everyone's. Survival depended on what the aliens would learn from it. The simulation began with both alien commanders confident in their abilities. Admiral Zektar and Swarm Commander Hivelex each controlled identical fleets of 30 ships, facing a complex scenario that Ben Clark and Dr. Lisa Grant had designed. Test was unlike anything either alien had ever encountered. Instead of a simple battle where the goal was to destroy the enemy, they faced multiple objectives that required careful planning and precise execution. Your mission, Jake explained as the holographic battlefield filled the space around them, is to capture 3 strategic space stations while protecting civilian evacuation ships and preventing the enemy from destroying a colony planet. This is simple, Zektar said confidently. The Kithara will crush all opposition. The Vorthik will hunt down every enemy ship. Hivelex buzzed with equal confidence. But within minutes, both commanders realized this was not going to be simple. At all. The first problem came when Zektar ordered a direct assault on the nearest space station. His ships moved in their typical formation, overwhelming force designed to destroy everything in their path. But the station was surrounded by civilian evacuation ships trying to escape the battle zone. "Admiral," the simulation computer announced. In a neutral voice, "Your attack has destroyed 17 civilian vessels. 2,000 non-combatant casualties." Zektar looked confused. So, they were in the way. "Each civilian casualty reduces your final score," Ben Clark explained. "The goal is to complete your objectives while protecting innocent lives." "But that makes no sense," Zektar protested. "In real warfare, you destroy everything that opposes you." Meanwhile, Hivelex was having his own problems. The Vorthic commander had sent his ships to hunt enemy vessels, but while he was focused on destroying opponents, enemy forces captured one of the strategic stations he was supposed to protect. "Commander," the computer announced, "Station Alpha has fallen to enemy forces. Mission failure." "Impossible." Hivelex buzzed angrily. "The Vorthic never fail. You failed because you were focused on hunting instead of achieving your objectives." Steve Harris explained. "You got distracted by the thrill of the chase." Both alien commanders were frustrated. They tried again, but the same patterns repeated. Zektar would use overwhelming force and accidentally destroy the things he was supposed to protect. Hivelex would focus on eliminating enemies and lose sight of his strategic goals. After the fifth failed attempt, both commanders were visibly upset. "This test is unfair," Zektar growled. "You have designed it to make us fail." "The parameters are impossible," Hivelex agreed. "No commander can achieve these objectives." "Really?" Jake asked. "Amy, run the same simulation, but let me command the fleet." Amy Peterson activated a new instance of the simulation. Jake found himself in command of the same 30 ships, facing the same complex objectives. The alien commanders watched carefully, expecting him to fail just as they had. But Jake's approach was completely different. Instead of sending his entire fleet to attack, he divided his ships into smaller groups. Some protected the evacuation ships, others moved carefully to capture the strategic stations, and a third group defended the colony planet. When enemy ships attacked the civilian vessels, Jake's forces intercepted them without firing into the evacuation convoy. When the enemy tried to recapture a station, his ships were already in position to defend it. He completed all objectives in less time than either alien commander had taken to fail at even one. "Impossible," Zektar said quietly. "How did you do?" "That?" Hivelex demanded. "Coordination," Jake replied simply. "Instead of trying to do everything with brute force, I used the right tool for each job. Some ships defended, others attacked, and others provided support. But that requires your forces to work together," Zektar said. "The Cathara fight as individuals. Each warrior seeks personal glory. And the Vorthic hunt in packs, but we compete with each other even while we cooperate," Hivelex added. "The strongest hunters claim the best prey." "That's exactly your problem," Dr. Grant said. "You're so focused on proving individual strength that you can't work effectively as a team." "But cooperation is weakness," both alien commanders said, almost simultaneously. "Is it?" Jake asked. "Amy, show them the power output readings from my simulation run." Amy brought up the data on the main screen. Captain Morrison's fleet used 30% less energy than either of your attempts completed the mission in half the time and achieved all objectives with 0 civilian casualties. "This is because human ships are superior," Zektar said, but he didn't sound convinced. "No," Jake replied. "We used the same ships you did. The difference was coordination and planning. We worked together instead of trying to dominate everything around us." Steve Harris pulled up tactical analyses of both alien attempts. "Admiral, Your ships are incredibly powerful, but you waste energy by attacking targets that don't matter to your mission. Commander, your vessels are fast and deadly, but you spread them too thin trying to hunt every enemy at once. A simulation proves something important, Lisa said. Raw power isn't enough to solve complex problems. You need strategy, cooperation, and the wisdom to know when not to fight. Both alien commanders were quiet for a long time, studying the data from their failed attempts and Jake's successful run. Finally, Zektar spoke. Human Captain, this test has shown us something we did not expect. The Kithara have always believed that individual strength was supreme. But your simulation suggests that coordinated action might be more effective. The Vorthik are also confused, Hivlix admitted. We have always hunted our prey by overwhelming them with superior numbers and aggression. But your approach achieved better results with less effort. That's because we learned something different from our evolution, Jake explained. Humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest or the fastest. We succeeded by working together and using our intelligence to solve problems. But Earth is a soft world, Zektar protested. You did not face the same challenges we did. Actually, we did, Lisa said. Earth is what we call a death world, too. It has extreme weather, dangerous predators, natural disasters, and diseases. That can kill in hours. But instead of becoming solitary apex predators, we learned to form communities. Your worlds made you strong as individuals, Ben Clark added. Our world made us strong as a species. Amy brought up images of Earth on the main screen. Our planet has ice ages that last thousands of years, volcanic eruptions that can destroy entire continents, and weather systems that can flatten forests. But we survived by helping each other. The alien commanders studied the images with surprise. Earth didn't look like the soft, peaceful world they had imagined. If your world is truly dangerous, why did you not become predators like us? Hivlex asked. Because we learned that cooperation was more effective than competition, Jake replied. A single human might not be able to kill a mammoth, but a group of humans working together could hunt anything. And when we faced diseases that could wipe out entire communities, we shared medical knowledge instead of hoarding it, Lisa added. When natural disasters struck, we helped rebuild instead of taking advantage of the weak. This is a completely different philosophy, Zektar said slowly. The Kithara have always believed that only the strong deserve to survive. Strength takes many forms, Jake said. Physical power is just one type. Intelligence, cooperation, and compassion can be even stronger. Danny Rodriguez had been monitoring communications from both alien fleets during the simulation. Captain, I'm picking up chatter from both sides. The crews have been watching the test, and they're discussing what they've seen. What are they saying? Jake asked. They're confused but interested. Many of them are asking their commanders about human tactics and why cooperation seemed to work better than individual combat. Swarm Commander Hivlex looked uncomfortable. My warriors are questioning our traditional methods. This is problematic. Why is it problematic? Lisa asked. Questioning old methods is how species improve and grow. Because if the Vorthik begin to doubt our ways, we will become weak like ... Like. Hivlex struggled to find the words. Like us? Jake asked with a slight smile. The species that just demonstrated superior tactical abilities using the same resources you had. Admiral Zektar was also troubled. The Kithara have fought this war for 7 years. We have lost thousands of warriors and dozens of ships. But we have gained nothing except the knowledge that the Vorthik are harder to defeat than we expected. And the Vorthik have learned that the Kithara are more resilient than we anticipated, Hivlex added reluctantly. Our war has cost us greatly, but achieved nothing. Wars usually do, Jake said. That's why most intelligent species try to avoid them. But without war, how do you prove strength? Zektar asked. By building something better than what came before, Lisa replied. By solving problems that seemed impossible. By working together. To create instead of working alone to destroy. Steve Harris pulled up star charts showing human space. Look at what cooperation has built for humanity. We have trade networks spanning hundreds of light years, research stations that have made incredible scientific discoveries, and colonies where different species work together peacefully. Different species? Hivelex asked with surprise. We've made contact with 17 other intelligent species, Ben Clark,